Hello friends, if you want to watch review of super hit movies in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which op platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film's storyline, star cast, actors, performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video. Alita, Battle Angel is a 2019 American cyberpunk action film based on Yukito Kishiro's manga series Battle Angel Alita. It was directed by Robert Rodriguez, produced by James Cameron and John Landau, and written by Cameron and Leota Kalogridis. Using motion capture and CGI animation, Rosa Salazar stars as Alita, a cyborg who awakens in a new body without memory of her past and sets out to uncover her destiny. Many of the supporting roles, played by Christoph Waltz, Jennifer Connelly, Mahershala Ali, Ed Skrein, Jackie Earle Haley and Keean Johnson, used live actors. Announced in 2003, production was repeatedly delayed due to Cameron's work on Avatar, 2009, and its sequels. After years of development hell, Rodriguez was announced as Alita's director in April 2016, with Salazar cast as the lead the following month. Principal photography began in October 2016 in Austin, Texas, mostly at Rodriguez's Troublemaker Studios, and lasted until February 2017. Alita, Battle Angel had its world premiere at the Odeon Leicester Square in London on January 31, 2019, and was released in the United States on February 14, by 20th Century Fox. The film grossed $405 million, making it Rodriguez's highest-grossing film, and received mixed reviews from critics. In the years since its release, the film has garnered a cult following. A sequel is in development. In the year 2563, 300 years after Earth was devastated in a catastrophic war against the United Republic of Mars, scientist Dr. Dyson Ito scavenges a disembodied female cyborg with an intact human brain in the Iron City scrapyard. He unites it with a new cyborg body and names her Alita after his late daughter. Alita wakes with no memory and befriends Hugo, who dreams of moving to the wealthy Sky City Zalem. She also meets Dr. Chiron, Ito's ex-wife. Hugo introduces Alita to Motorball, a rollerball-like sport played by cyborg gladiators. Hugo secretly robs cyborgs of their parts for Vector, owner of the Motorball tournament and de facto ruler of the factory, Iron City's governing authority. One night, Alita follows Ito. They are ambushed by killer cyborgs led by Gruishka. Ito is injured and Alita instinctively fights using Panzerkunst, a lost combat art for machine bodies. She kills two cyborgs and damages Gruishka, who retreats. Ito reveals that he is a hunter-warrior, a bounty hunter hired by the factory. Gruishka seeks help from Dr. Chiron, who is working for Vector. Alita believes fighting will help her rediscover her past, but Ito discourages her from becoming a hunter-warrior. Alita finds an advanced cyborg body of a berserker, shock troops of the enemy of which Alita realizes she was a member. Ito refuses to install Alita in it, which upsets her. Alita registers as a hunter-warrior. At the Kansas bar, she and Hugo attempt to recruit other hunter-warriors to help take down Gruishka. Hunter-warrior Zapan provokes Alita and she beats him in a fight, triggering a bar brawl until Ito arrives. An upgraded Gruishka appears and challenges Alita to a duel, having been sent by Zalem's overlord, Nova, to destroy her. Alita's body is damaged by Gruishka before Ito, Hugo, and hunter-warrior Dogma Sturmactigue force Gruishka to retreat. Ito apologizes and transplants Alita into the berserker body. Having fallen in love with Hugo, Alita enters a motorball tryout for the prize money to send Hugo to Zalem. Hugo decides to quit his criminal job. He confronts his partner Tanji, but Zapan appears, kills Tanji and frames Hugo for the murder. Hugo escapes and calls Alita for help. She abandons the race and finds him just as Zapan mortally wounds Hugo. Dr. Chiron saves Hugo by attaching his severed head to Alita's life support system. When Zapan attempts to stop Alita, she seizes his Damascus blade and cuts off his face. Ito transplants Hugo's head onto a cyborg body and tells Alita that Vector's offer to help Hugo reach Zalem was a lie, and that citizens of Iron City can only enter Zalem by becoming a motorball champion. Alita confronts Vector, who reveals that Chiron has been harvested for her organs. Vector summons Gruishka, whom Alita easily destroys with her new body. Nova speaks to her through Vector. When Nova threatens to harm her friends, Alita fatally impales Vector. Ito contacts Alita to tell her that Hugo is climbing a cargo tube towards Zalem. Alita catches up to him and pleads with him to return with her. He agrees, but a serrated defense ring dropped by Nova shreds his body and throws him off the tube. Alita catches him but cannot pull him up. He thanks her for coming to save him, then falls. Months later, Alita is a rising star in Motorball. She swears revenge, pointing her sword towards Zalem where a smirking Nova watches. Rosa Salazar as Alita, a revived cyborg suffering from amnesia. Christoph Waltz as Dr. Dyson Ito, a renowned cyborg scientist, part-time bounty hunter and Alita's father figure. Jennifer Connelly as Dr. Chiron, Ito's estranged former wife, a masterful cyborg engineer who works for Vector. Mahershala Ali as Vector, an influential entrepreneur at the factory with criminal connections who also serves as Nova's proxy. Ed Skrein as Zapan, an arrogant sword-wielding bounty-hunting cyborg, who embarks on an egotistic vendetta against Alita. Jackie Earle Haley as Gruishka, a huge criminal cyborg who works for Nova as his personal assassin and enforcer. Keean Johnson as Hugo, Alita's love interest and a morally conflicted scrap dealer. Jorge Lendeborg Jr. as Tanji, Hugo's scrap-dealing friend and accomplice in crime, who is more underhanded and does not share Hugo's ethics. Lana Condor as Koyami, a teenager, who is friends with Hugo and Tanji. Idara Victor as Nurse Jurhad, Ito's assistant. Jeff Fahey as McTeague, a hunter-warrior, who leads a pack of cyborg dogs. Isa Gonzalez as Nishana, a wanted criminal cyborg assassin and one of Gruishka's subordinates. Derek Mears as Romo, a wanted criminal cyborg assassin and one of Gruishka's subordinates. Leonard Wu as Kinyaba, a top-league motorball player, whose limbs were cut off by Hugo's jacking gang. 0. Rick Yun as Master Clive Lee, a hunter-warrior, who claims a record of 207 kills. Casper Van Dien as Amok, a cyborg, who is responsible for the death of Ito's daughter. El Lamont as Screwhead, a cyborg, who's referred to as being one of the most lethal hunter-warriors hired by the factory. 1. Appearing in uncredited cameo appearances are Michelle Rodriguez as Alita cyborg mentor Gelda, Jay Courtney as motorball champion Jashugan, and Edward Norton as Nova. Battle Angel Alita, an early 1990s Japanese cyberpunk manga series written by Yukito Kishiro, was originally brought to James Cameron's attention by filmmaker Guillermo del Toro, and Cameron immediately became enamored with the concept. 23456 The domain name battleangelalita.com was registered to James Cameron by 20th Century Fox around June 2000. 7 Fox also registered the battleangelmovie.com domain. 8 In April 2003, it was reported by Movie Hole that Cameron had confirmed he would direct a Battle Angel film. 9 Cameron confirmed that a script for the film was in production during an interview on the Tokyo program on Fuji TV on May 4, 2003. 0 It was originally scheduled to be his next production after the TV series Dark Angel 1, which was influenced by Battle Angel Alita. 2 It was later scheduled to be his next film after Aliens of the Deep in January 2005. 3 In June 2005, The Hollywood Reporter claimed that the film was being delayed while Cameron developed a film known as Project 880,4 which would later be renamed Avatar. 5 Entertainment Weekly ran an interview in February 2006 in which Cameron stated that his deal with 20th Century Fox was that he produce both films. 6 The article also claimed that Battle Angel was slated to be released in September 2009. 6 In June 2006, Cameron commented that Battle Angel was the second of two planned film trilogies he was developing, with the first being Avatar. 7 In May 2008, Cameron indicated he would be working on a film titled The Dive, a biography of freedivers Francisco Ferreras and Audrey Mestre 8, thus delaying the film again. That July, at San Diego Comic-Con, he reiterated that he was still committed to making the film. 9 In December 2009, Cameron commented during an interview with MTV News that a script for Battle Angel had been completed. 0 In February 2010, Producer John Landau commented that he was trying to convince Cameron to change the title from the manga to Alita, Battle Angel for the film. 2 Cameron later explained the reason for rearranging the film title from the initial source material, was to allow the possibilities of sequel titles. It's Alita, Battle Angel. Because the next one will be Alita, Fallen Angel and then Alita, Avenging Angel and then Alita whatever. I mean, that's assuming we make some money. One Landau also revealed that screenwriter Alita Kalogridis had worked on writing the film. 2 In August 2010, Cameron stated that the film was still on his radar, but he did not know when he would make it. 5 However, that October, he confirmed that his next films would be 2 Avatar sequels instead of Battle Angel. 2 He still stated that he did not intend to abandon the film, stating that he loved the project too much to hand it off to another director. 3 But reiterated in June 2011 that it would not be produced until the 2 Avatar sequels were completed. 3 Stating that Battle Angel is not going to happen for a few years. 4 According to Cameron, his reason for producing Avatar first is because he believes that the film can raise public awareness of the need for environmental protection. 5 Robert Rodriguez, the director of the film. During an interview with Alfonso Cuarón in July 2013, Cameron set 2017 as the date at which production on the film would begin. 6 In October 2015, The Hollywood Reporter reported that director Robert Rodriguez was in negotiations to direct the film, now titled Alita, Battle Angel, and Cameron would be attached as producer alongside John Landau. 7 Rodriguez had been brought in by Cameron to condense and combine Cameron's 186-page screenplay and some 600 pages of notes into what could be the shooting script. Satisfied by Rodriguez's work on the shooting script, Cameron offered him the directing job. 8 In April 2016, The Hollywood Reporter reported that 20th Century Fox had not yet greenlit the film, as they were attempting to reduce the budget to something below $175 to $200 million. 9 The article also announced that Rodriguez had been signed as director. 9 In late May 2016, Fox scheduled the film for a July 20, 2018 release date. 0 With James Cameron as potential director, the film was to be produced with the same mix of live-action and computer-generated imagery that Cameron used in Avatar. 0 Specifically, Cameron intended to render the main character, Alita, completely in CGI. 3 Cameron had stated that he would make use of technologies developed for Avatar to produce the film, such as the fusion camera system, facial motion capture, and the simulcam. 1 In May 2006, Variety reported that Cameron had spent the past 10 months developing technology to produce the film. 2 In October 2018, Mark Gorner, a digital artist who had worked on the film for a year and a half, commented that pre-production work on the film was mostly finished. 3 In a February 2019 interview, Cameron revealed that he set the floating city of Zalem in Panama for specifically Panama City. 5 He explained that the city Zalem is not floating, but hanging from a space elevator, which would only work physically near the equator. As a result of the new location, Iron City was designed with Spanish signage and Latin American architecture. 46 An April 2016 article in The Hollywood Reporter reported that Maika Monroe, Rosa Salazar, and Zendaya were among the final actresses being considered to take the role of Alita in the film, with a decision due within a few weeks. 9 The article reported that Zendaya's former Shake It Up co-star Bella Thorne had also auditioned for the role. 9 Near the end of May 2016, Collider reported that Salazar had been chosen. 7 In August 2016, it was reported that Christoph Waltz was in negotiations to play Dr. Dyson Ito 8 the equivalent of Daisuke Ito from the original manga. 9 On September 14, 2016, it was announced that Jackie Earle Haley had been cast as a cyborg villain. 0 On September 21, 2016, Variety reported that Ed Skrein was in talks for a role in the film. The Hollywood Reporter later confirmed that he had been cast as the antagonist Zapan. 2 On September 30, 2016, Keean Johnson was reported to have been cast in the film to play Hugo, Alita's love interest, who later becomes the reason for her to play a gladiator-style game called Motorball. 3 The studio also considered Avan Jogia, Douglas Booth, Jack Lowden, and Noah Silver for the role, but decided on Johnson because they were looking for someone more ethnically ambiguous. 3 On October 3, 2016, Marshala Ali was reportedly in talks for the villainous role of Vector, a man who rigs motorball combat matches. In an interview following his Best Supporting Actor win at the 89th Academy Awards, Ali revealed that he would play 2 roles in the film, although he did not elaborate on the nature of the second role. 4 On October 5, 2016, It was reported that Isa Gonzalez had joined the film. 5 Gonzalez is one of the leads in Rodriguez's television series From Dusk Till Dawn. The series, Jorge Landeborg Jr., was announced for a role in the film on October 7, 2016. He would play Hugo's friend. 6 Lana Condor was reported to have joined the cast on October 11, 2016, portraying the orphan teen Koyomi. 7 On October 18, 2016, Leonard Wu was cast as the cyborg Kinyaba. 8 Marco Zarer joined the cast as the cyborg Ajakuti in December 2016. 9 On February 7, 2017, Jennifer Connelly joined the film in an unknown villainous role. 0 Michelle Rodriguez was retroactively announced for a role on February 22, 2017, after the film had completed shooting. 1. The film began shooting at Robert Rodriguez's Troublemaker Studios in Austin, Texas on October 17, 2016, and concluded on February 9, 2017. 023 In late January 2017, a casting call went out looking for rocker, punk, or emo extras to film scenes in Austin on the nights of February 3, 6 and 7, 2017. 45. Salazar went through 5 months of exhaustive martial arts training to prepare for the action sequences in the film, learning Eagle Claw Kung Fu, Muay Thai, and staff work. 67 James Cameron also decided that the film would pay homage to Bruce Lee, seen through Alita's punching technique during a scene where she practices in front of a mirror. 8. Visual effects. The visual effects were provided by Weta Digital, DNEG, and Framestore and supervised by Joe Lettery, Eric Saindon, Nick Epstein, Raymond Chen and Nigel Denton House. 9 Weta Digital was the main visual effect company for the Alita digital puppet, which required the company to redesign its motion capture methods to motion capture all the subtleties and complexities of Salazar's performance. 0. On December 17, 2018, it was announced that English-Albanian singer Dua Lipa would have a song featured on the film's soundtrack titled Swan Song. 1 The song and official music video were released on January 24, 2019, 2 with the official music video directed by Floria Sigismondi. Tom Holkenborg composed the score for the film as well as the song Swan Song as a co-writer. The soundtrack album for the film was released digitally on February 14, 2019 by Milan Records, with a physical release, the following day. 3. The teaser trailer for the film was released on December 8, 2017, with a July 2018 release in mind. 8 The footage received a mixed response, with a majority of the commentary focusing on the appearance of the titular character, Alita. Andrew Liptak of The Verge stated that the character looks like an anime doll come to life, or like a Disney character that's just a hair off from normal. It's probably a deliberate choice, meant to remind viewers at every moment that Alita isn't human. But after so many years of CGI animators trying to mimic convincing human faces and not entirely succeeding, it's still unsettling to see a character hovering this close to realistic, while staying this far away from it. 4 Adam Chitwood of Collider was intrigued and cautiously optimistic, saying, "This thing looks bonkers, and now it's crystal clear why Cameron was considering directing this in the first place. The choice to make your protagonist a photoreal CGI creation interacting with actual human characters is mighty ambitious, and I can say with certainty this doesn't look like anything Robert Rodriguez has done before. I don't know if it'll be good, but it definitely seems like it'll at least be interesting." 5. The first trailer was shown at SDCC 2018 and made its way online on July 23, 2018, with a December 2018 release in mind. The trailer featured a cover of Linkin Park's New Divide, covered by composer J2 featuring vocalist Avery. 6 The third trailer was released in November 2018, almost a year after the first trailer was launched. 7. A tie-in novel was released on November 20, 2018, written by sci-fi author Pat Cadigan. Entitled Iron City, the novel's story acted as a prequel focused on some of the residents living in Iron City before the events of the film. An audiobook adaptation of the novel was also released on the same date, narrated by Brian Nishii. Alongside the release of the film, another novel titled Dr. Ito's Journal by Nick Aries was published on February 19, 2019. 300 limited edition copies of the art and making of the movie by Abby Bernstein were signed by Robert Rodriguez. The official novelization of the film was released on the same date, written by Pat Cadigan. In January 2019, Cameron and 20th Century Fox collaborated with Open Bionics to give 13-year-old double amputee Tilly Lockey a pair of Alita-inspired bionic hero arms for the film's London premiere. 89 In February 2019, 20th Century Fox collaborated with IM8-Bit to create Passport to Iron City, a recreation of the film's setting for fans to tour. Passport to Iron City is available in New York City, Los Angeles, and Austin. 0. The film held its world premiere on January 31, 2019, at the Odeon Leicester Square in London and was released by 20th Century Fox in the United States on February 14, 2019. 234 It was originally set to be released on July 20, 2018, but in February 2018, the film was delayed to December 2015 before later being pushed back again in late September to its final release date, with a PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2 taking its place. 3. On January 28, 2019, Cameron announced that the film would hold free one-day previews in the United States on January 31, 2019, before the general release. 6 It was also released in Hong Kong, Indonesia, Macau, Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan on February 5, 2019, marking Chinese New Year. 7 The Philippines on February 6,8 India on February 8,9 and Japan and mainland China on February 22.01 It is also notable for being the final film from Fox to be released as a standalone studio. As a month later on March 20, 2019, the studio was acquired by the Walt Disney Company and would distribute future films under them, starting with the release of Breakthrough. On January 30, 2019, Epic Stone Group, a Florida-based multimedia company, sued 20th Century Fox for trademark infringement over the Battle Angel name. The lawsuit claims that Epic Stone Group had filed the trademark for Battle Angel in 2009 for computer games, action figures, and other merchandise, and it had filed a new application in April 2018 to use the name on DVDs, ebooks, films and television programs. 23 On May 30, 2019, Epic Stone Group filed to dismiss their trademark infringement suit against 20th Century Fox. 4. Home Media. Alita, Battle Angel was released by 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment on digital platforms on July 9, 2019, with Blu-ray, 4K Ultra HD and DVD releases following on July 23.56. The 4K version was Fox's first 4K release to utilize Dolby Vision, alongside rival format HDR10 Plus on the same disc. Fox had already released films in that format and was a backer. 7 and includes a bonus 3D version of the film on a separate disc. 6. It was a hit on home video, topping the Blu-ray charts for 2 weeks in a row, as of August 2019. 8 As of December 2019, it has grossed at least $50 million in home video sales. 9. Alita. Battle Angel grossed $85.8 million in the United States and Canada, and $319.1 million in other countries, for a worldwide total of $405 million, against a production budget of $170 million. It is Robert Rodriguez's highest-grossing film. 0 Estimates vary for the total worldwide gross the film needed in order to break even, with Fox insiders stating $350 million but outside financial publications pegging the amount at $400 to $500 million. 0102 Some contend the film broke even by the end of its theatrical run, others listed its losses as high as $53 million. 03 In the United States and Canada, the film was initially projected to gross $18 to $22 million in its opening weekend, and around $25 million from 3,790 theaters over its first 4 days. 04 After making $8.7 million on its first day, including $2.4 million from Wednesday night previews, 5-day projections were increased to $36 to $40 million. 0506 It then made $7.5 million on its second day of release and went on to debut to $28.5 million in the weekend, finishing first at the box office. It also had a 4-day gross of $37.2 million and 5-day total of $42.50 million. 0207 Opening weekend audiences consisted of 60% male and 40% female, with demographics including 44% white, 21% Hispanic, 15% Asian American and 14% African American. 08 The film dropped 58% in its second weekend, making $12 million and finishing second behind newcomer How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, and then made $7 million in its third, finishing third. 0910 Alita opened a week early in 11 international markets, including 10 Asian countries as well as the United Kingdom, where it grossed $32 million in its opening weekend. It opened at number 2 in South Korea with $10.9 million, first in Taiwan with $4.2 million, where it was Fox's fourth biggest opening ever, $4.2 million in the United Kingdom, with a 42% being from 3D shows, and $2.9 million in Malaysia, where it was Fox's second biggest opening ever. 11 In its second international weekend, the film grossed $56.2 million from 86 markets, bringing its international gross to $94.40 million. 12 It was the weekend's second highest grossing film with $84 million worldwide, behind the Chinese film The Wandering Earth. 13 In China, Alita earned $1 million from early midnight previews prior to release. 14 It had a China opening day gross of $20 million on February 22, 2019, surpassing expectations, with its opening weekend projection increasing from $50 million to over $60 million. 15 The film's daily gross increased to $24.8 million on its second day, for a two-day gross of $44.55 million in China. 16 The film had an opening weekend gross of $65 million in China, making it Fox's biggest opening of all time in the country. It also set a new February IMAX record, with $9 million, 14%, from 603 IMAX screens in China. 17 18 Chinese opening weekend audiences consisted of 54% male and 46% female. 19 In Japan, the film launched with $3.2 million in its opening weekend. In its third international weekend, it topped the international box office with $92.5 million in 82 markets. 20 The film also topped the worldwide box office that weekend with $104.40 million. 21 On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, Alita, Battle Angel holds an approval rating of 61% based on 331 reviews, with an average rating of 6.1/10. The website's critical consensus reads, Alita, Battle Angel's story struggles to keep up with its special effects, but fans of futuristic sci-fi action may still find themselves more than sufficiently entertained. 22 On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 53 out of 100, based on 49 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. 23 Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, while those at Post-Track gave it an overall positive score of 78% and a 59% definite recommend. 02 Michael Nordini of IndieWire gave the film a grade of B+, saying, Alita, Battle Angel is Rodriguez's best film since he brought Frank Miller's graphic novel to the screen, a sci-fi epic that does something rare in an age of endless adaptations and reboots, lives up to its potential while leaving you wanting more. 24 Writing. For Variety, Guy Lodge praised Rodriguez's effort but called the film muddled and wrote, this manga-based cyberpunk origin story is a pretty zappy effects showcase, weighed down by a protracted, soul-challenged Franken story that short-circuits every time it gets moving. 25 Monica Castillo from RogeRebert.com wrote that the visual bonanza cooked up by Rodriguez, cinematographer Bill Pope and editors Stephen E. Rivkin and Ian Silverstein is enough to power through any narrative bumps with quickly paced action and bleak, yet colorful, imagery, and gave the film 2.5 out of 4.26. Emily Yoshida of New York Magazine was critical of the film but ultimately found it charming, and praised Salazar's performance. The only reason any of this works at all is Salazar and, I hate to say it, those goddamned big eyes. They're the windows to the soul, after all, and this ungainly, lurching cyborg of a would-be blockbuster has more of that than meets the eye. 27 Jeffrey Anderson gave the film 2 out of 5 stars, and noted that this juggernaut-sized sci-fi movie mechanically rehashes a huge collection of genre cliches while bashing its way through an onslaught of visual effects, bad dialogue, and dull, lifeless characters. Co-written by James Cameron and directed by Robert Rodriguez, Alita, Battle Angel feels lost in a bubble. It's clueless about the real world, about real emotions, or about any other, grindingly similar movies that have come out in the real world. 28 Kishiro praised the movie adaptation, claiming it to be the greatest movie in the world. He added, every time I can find something new. The composition is amazing. All scenes are special and there are no unneeded ones. It is so exciting that I can't believe that I created the original story. The core part of the manga was brilliantly passed on to the film. Including the characters' emotion and raison d'être, they were perfectly reflected in the film, so I was very happy. 29 In addition to the numerous awards and nominations, Alita, Battle Angel was submitted for consideration in the Best Visual Effects category at the 92nd Academy Awards, but failed to get shortlisted. 30-31 James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez have hinted that the film could lead to multiple sequels. 50 On February 6, 2019, they announced that they have plans for Alita, Battle Angel 2 in the future. The casting of Edward Norton in a non-speaking role as Nova in this film was intended to be a setup for the sequel. 51 Additionally, the uncredited cameos by Michelle Rodriguez and Jai Courtney were meant to set up larger roles in a sequel. 52. In April 2020, Christoph Waltz stated that he had not heard any discussions about a potential sequel to the film, and thought the possibility was unlikely following Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox, as it may not fit in with the Disney culture. 53 However, in January 2021, Robert Rodriguez said that he was hoping that a sequel to the film would be made. 54 Later on, during an interview with The Nerdy Basement, Rodriguez claimed that he would try pitching an Alita sequel if the Book of Boba Fett series, directed by him, succeeded in knocking people's socks off. 55 In December 2022, Rodriguez and Cameron took a virtual blood oath to make a sequel. 56 In April 2023, producer John Landau confirmed that the sequel was in active development, with Rodriguez and Rosa Salazar returning as director and star, respectively. 57 In July the same year, James Cameron reiterated that he is working on more than one sequel. 58 In November 2025, Cameron stated that Rodriguez and he were working on the script together and were committed to making it. 59. In September 2020, a social media campaign took place with fans petitioning for U.S. cinema chain Cinemark to re-release the film in theaters before the end of the year as a way to gauge public interest in a potential sequel. Cinemark quickly responded, stating that they were considering it. 60 On October 7, James Cameron confirmed that the film would indeed be returning to select theaters on October 30, while voicing support for #AlitaArmy. Director Robert Rodriguez also voiced his support for the movement. 61-62 Regal Cinemas and AMC Theaters also confirmed that the film would be shown in their theaters before the former announced the temporary closure of their locations due to diminishing returns as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. 63 The film was re-released in theaters on October 30, 2020. About the film's reception, Rodriguez said, "The fans still didn't let anyone forget that they loved that movie. It's almost better than having a movie that does really well but no one remembers in 6 to 8 years." 64-65. Alita, Battle Angel centers around a 300-plus-year-old nameless cyborg, Rosa Salazar, that Dr. Dyson Ito, Christoph Waltz, finds in a scrap heap and repairs. The cyborg, who decides after Dr. Ito's suggestion, that she will call herself Alita, has amnesia, and together with Dr. Ito and her new friend Hugo, Keean Johnson, she must discover the world around her and learn about herself and discover her purpose. As she begins to understand who she is, enemies come out of the woodwork and she must fight to survive. I've been excited for this film since early on in the production cycle. The combination of James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez was surely never going to fail, yet even with a $200 million budget it really hasn't flourished either. It's not that Alita, Battle Angel is a bad film, it just isn't the great one you'd expect from such a duo, or such a budget. It certainly isn't the must-see blockbuster we were promised after years of talk, if you frequent movie forums and websites, and weeks of advertising. Rosa Salazar is fine as Alita, giving a performance that's a combination of both motion capture and voice acting, with the actual character being CGI. Probably my favorite part of the film was not the fighting, which normally action sequences are my bread and butter, but in the first act when Alita is freshly repaired, seeing things for the first time, hearing things, learning things, even tasting things. Though I am not sure why a cyborg needs to eat. Where does she number 2 from? During this period we see that Alita is curious, she is competitive, she is wondrous. It really was great to see. Things go downhill when she meets Hugo, and as their relationship develops, the pair fall in love and the clichés begin to hit us one by one. Dr. Ito's relationship with Alita is also frustrating at times. Christoph Waltz gives an acceptable performance, but the character is quite bland and predictable. He is using Alita to replace his long-dead daughter, he is overprotective, etc. etc. You know how it goes. Jennifer Connelly also makes an appearance as Chiron, Ito's ex-wife and mother of their dead child. Her character is boring and supposedly selfish, but again the clichés hit and the expected happens. Aside from Alita herself, there are only 3 characters of any real note, and they are all bad guys. Ed Skrein as the pretty boy hunter warrior Zapan is great. He's so up himself and Skrein delivers this beautifully. Jackie Earle Haley as Gruishka is also great, he is evil to the core, so much so, he squishes a little puppy dog. Finally, the best performer of the lot by far was Mahershala Ali as Vector, cool name, too. This guy is going from strength to strength in his career with Green Book and Moonlight, and now this, although I'll always remember him as being credited as Mahershala Hashbaz Ali from the B-grade TV show Threat Matrix. One thing that the $200 million budget did allow for was great special effects, but I think we all expected this. It all looks great and well polished. The action scenes were also great, but realistically, we've seen it all before in any big budget action blockbuster, think Terminator, Transformers, or the Marvel and DC output. It's all fast-paced CGI action. However, the worst part of the film were some of the one-liners. After one particular fight scene where Alita gets assistance from Jeff Fahey in the form of Hunter Warrior McTeague and his cyborg dogs, McTeague utters he wasn't a dog lover. I hate that. It was a terrible line, but nothing topped when Hugo's friend, while talking about Alita, says she was the enemy at one point and another replies 300 years ago, get over it. The tone and style in which it was said, to a person of color, sounded as if it was written by a far-right Trump supporter, or in Australian context, a far-right Pauline Hanson supporter. The other really crappy part was that the bounty hunters were called Hunter Warriors in the first place. It just sounds so bad. It's on par with Shane Black calling the armor scene at the end of The Predator Killer. The fast pace helped with the enjoyment of the well-choreographed fight sequences. Even though I was frequently frustrated, I didn't find myself bored, and I only took my eyes off of the screen a few times to write notes. Despite the violent comics the film is based on, the film is not very bloody though. Obviously when you're dealing primarily with cyborgs, there is not a lot of blood, and even when a kid is sliced in half, there really isn't much gore at all. I felt this was a large issue, taking the dark, bloody edginess away and replacing with a polished, clean look blended with a teenager love story feel in the vein of Twilight. In the end, Alita, Battle Angel is an ambitious attempt to convert a story from one medium to another that sadly doesn't quite manage to pull it off. Using material from several of the comics, it seems to blur into a bunch of cliches that are just plain old boring. Luckily it has great pacing and action to help keep it interesting, with some cool villains to keep you interested and entertained. Director, Robert Rodriguez. Cast, Rosa Salazar, Christoph Waltz, Mahershala Ali. Writers, James Cameron, Leota Kalogridis, Robert Rodriguez, based on the graphic novel series Gun by Yukito Kishiro. A deactivated cyborg's revived, but can't remember anything of her past and goes on a quest to find out who she is. Alita is a creation from an age of despair. Found by the mysterious Dr. Ito while trolling for cyborg parts, Alita becomes a lethal, dangerous being. She cannot remember who she is, or where she came from. But to Dr. Ito, the truth is all too clear. She is the one being who can break the cycle of death and destruction left behind from Tiferes. But to accomplish her true purpose, she must fight and kill. And that is where Alita's true significance comes to bear. She is an angel from heaven. She is an angel of death. Anthony Harmon. In 2563, 300 years after the war, the fall, the mysterious scientist Dr. Dyson Ito finds part of a female cyborg in a junkyard and brings to his laboratory. He finds that her human brain is amnetic but intact and gives the name of his deceased daughter Alita to the cyborg. Alita meets on the street Dr. Ito's ex-wife Chiron, who is also a scientist that works to the powerful Zapan, and befriends the young Hugo, who brings cyborg's parts to Dr. Ito, and learns that both dream on moving to the floating city of Zalem. Hugo teaches Alita how to play motorball, and she learns that the champion of the motorball tournament moves to Zalem. Soon Alita discovers that Dr. Ito is a hunter warrior, and after finding her cyborg body in a crashed spaceship, she decides to become also a hunter warrior, but Dr. Ito refuses to replace her body. Who was Alita and what is the secret of the cyborg body found by Alita? Let us see what happens. Claudio Carvalho, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Set in the 26th century, the story takes place 300 years after a societal collapse caused by a major war. In that society, it's a technological dark age following a pinnacle of achievement far beyond where we are right now. Cyborg technology is a way of life. People are augmented a lot as workers, so being a cyborg is not unusual. The main character is a cyborg. She has an organic human brain, and she looks like she's about 14 years old. She has a completely artificial body and she's lost her memory. She is found in a wreckage and reconstituted by a cybersurgeon who becomes her surrogate father Termel Natri X. When Alita, Rosa Salazar, awakens with no memory of who she is in a future world she does not recognize, she is taken in by Dr. Ito, Christoph Waltz, a compassionate doctor who realizes that somewhere in this abandoned cyborg shell is the heart and soul of a young woman with an extraordinary past. As Alita learns to navigate her new life and the treacherous streets of Iron City, Ito tries to shield her from her mysterious history while her street-smart new friend Hugo, Keean Johnson, offers instead to help trigger her memories. But it is only when the deadly and corrupt forces that run the city come after Alita that she discovers a clue to her past. She has unique fighting abilities that those in power will stop at nothing to control. If she can stay out of their grasp, she could be the key to saving her friends, her family, and the world she's grown to love. 20th Century Fox. In 2263, Earth is devastated by a catastrophic interplanetary war known as the Fall or the Great War. 300 years later, in the junkyard metropolis of Iron City, scientist Dr. Dyson Ito, Christoph Waltz, discovers a disembodied female cyborg with an intact human brain. Ito attaches a new cyborg body to the brain, who has no memories, and names her Alita, Rosa Salazar, after his deceased daughter, for whom he originally built the body. Alita awakens, and meets Dr. Chiron, Jennifer Connelly, Ito's estranged ex-wife, and befriends the charismatic Hugo, Keean Johnson, a morally conflicted scrap dealer, who dreams of moving to the wealthy sky city of Zalem, the last great city left. Hugo introduces Alita to Motorball, a battle royale sport played by cyborg gladiators. Secretly, Hugo robs cyborgs of their parts for Vector, Marshala Ali, owner of the Motorball tournament, to build his own unbeatable champion. Chiron wants Ito to work with her to create cyborgs for Motorball, but Ito refuses to help her. Chiron secretly works for Vector. Hugo reckons since all trash in Iron City comes from Zalem, then Alita must have been in Zalem at one time. One night, Alita follows Ito and discovers he is a hunter-warrior. They are ambushed by 3 cyborg serial killers led by Grishka, Jackie Earl Haley. Ito is injured, and Alita instinctively kills 2 of the cyborgs and damages Grishka, who retreats underground. Despite Alita having rediscovered her past skill in the ancient martial art of Panzerkunst, a German expression, meaning the art of the armor or the armored arts, Ito discourages her from becoming a hunter-warrior. As a hunter-warrior, Ito hunts for Rouge cyborgs and gives them to the factory for money, with which he runs his clinic to repair damaged cyborgs. He reveals that since his daughter Alita was killed by a Rouge cyborg, killing them brings him mental peace. Ito also tells Alita that her heart is made of pre-war tech and is strong enough to power the whole Iron City for generations. By implication, Alita is hundreds of years old. Grishka works for Vector and gets Chiron to fix him. The overlord of Zalem, Nova, speaks to Vector through Grishka and tells Vector to kill Alita and bring her to him in Zalem. He knows Alita's past. Alita finds a highly advanced cyborg body in a crashed spaceship outside the city. Recognizing the body as a berserker, lethal shock troops of the enemy United Republics of Mars, Ito refuses to install Alita in it. Frustrated, Alita registers as a hunter-warrior. At the Kansas bar, she and Hugo are unable to recruit other hunter-warriors to take down Grishka. The narcissistic Zapan, Ed Skrein, an arrogant sword-wielding cyborg bounty hunter who develops an egotistic vendetta against Alita, provokes Alita. She then severely beats him in a fight, triggering a chaotic bar brawl until Ito intervenes. An upgraded Grishka arrives and challenges Alita to a duel, revealing he has been sent by Zalem's technocrat overlord, Nova, to destroy her. Despite her courage and combat skills, Alita's body is sliced up by Grishka's chain-blade fingers. These new arms were stolen by Hugo and delivered to Vector, and Hugo recognizes them on Grishka, but Ito, Hugo, and hunter-warrior McTeague force Grishka to retreat. Ito transplants Alita into the berserker body. In the new body, Alita remembers that she was created and trained to kill Nova. Having fallen in love with Hugo, Alita enters a motorball tryout race for the prize money to send Hugo to Zalem. Ito warns Alita that the other contestants are wanted cyborgs hired by Vector, under Nova's orders, to kill her, but she destroys many of them in the competition. Hugo's relationship with Alita leads him to decide to quit his secret job. He confronts his gang, in the process of mugging another cyborg, but Zapan appears, murdering the cyborg and framing Hugo. Hugo calls Alita for help. She abandons the race and finds him just as Zapan does. Zapan mortally wounds Hugo and tells Alita that hunter-warrior law dictates that she must either kill Hugo, since he is a criminal now, or let Zapan finish him off. Chiron witnesses Alita's love for Hugo and decides to betray Vector by offering Alita to save Hugo by attaching his severed head to Alita's life support system. Alita tries to smuggle Hugo's head from the factory bots by hiding him under her jacket, but Zapan sees through the trick and attempts to stop Alita. She then seizes his prized Damascus blade and slices his face off. Ito transplants Hugo's head onto a cyborg body and tells Alita that Vector's offer to help Hugo reach Zalem was a lie. As an exiled citizen of Zalem, Ito is certain that citizens of Iron City cannot enter Zalem unless becoming a motorball champion. Alita storms the factory and confronts Vector, who reveals that Chiron has been harvested for her organs. Vector summons Grishka, but Alita's new nanomolecular body allows her to destroy him with ease. She forces Nova to speak to her through Vector. When Nova threatens to harm her friends, Alita fatally stabs Vector. Ito tells Alita that Hugo has fled to climb a cargo tube towards Zalem. Alita catches up to him and pleads with him to return with her. He agrees, but a serrated defense ring dropped by Nova shreds his body and throws him off the tube. Hugo, realizing he is too damaged to survive, thanks Alita for saving him before falling to his death. Months later, Alita is the star of the motorball tournament. Cheered on by the crowd, she pledges vengeance by pointing her sword towards Zalem, where Nova watches from above, smirking in anticipation. Near the end of Alita, Battle Angel, the title character's boyfriend, utters an emotional thank you to her. "You saved me. I tried to stay in the sentimentality in the moment, I really did, but my mind couldn't help but wonder, okay, but who's going to save us?" And then more seriously, to this, could have even James Cameron saved Alita? First announced by Cameron in 2003 as his follow-up to Titanic, the adaptation of the Battle Angel Alita manga, Gunmen Japan, and its prequels took a backseat, instead, to the Avatar franchise. Long gestating, Alita looked to be the next in a long line of anime or manga adaptations announced in Hollywood and then tossed away, see Robotech and Evangelion. But Cameron's love for the property is deep, and he turned the reins over to Robert Rodriguez, Sin City, Spy Kids, to direct this vision of a post-apocalyptic future where denizens of Iron City live below the floating metropolis of Zalem, the last surviving fortress from a war several hundred years prior. The citizens below, including Ito's ex-wife, Chiron, played by Jennifer Connelly in an unproductive role, and Alita's love interest, Hugo, want desperately to ascend, while the Zalemites literally throw their trash, including Alita's remain, down below. The world of Alita is beautifully crafted. Participants were given an early taste of the film's design through the Passport to Iron City experience, which, like the film, recreates a believable version of the future that feels suitably sci-fi while capturing the feel of a real living community, cosmopolitan and full of weary people just trying to get by. I was reminded of my time in Egypt as a youth, making my way through the bustling crowds of Cairo and unsure of how to navigate the city and culture. Alita, just entering this world, is much the same as I was. After being rebuilt by Ito and reared by him as a daughter, she must learn both the simplest of things, like how to eat an orange, and the complex, including the discovery of elements important to the city and the film, namely the hunter-warrior culture, consisting of bounty hunters who are law enforcement replacements, and motorball, a sports perhaps best described as gladiatorial cyborg roller derby, and highly anticipated by fans of the Alita manga and anime. The film is often at its best following Alita as she engages in her new life, the mundane and the dangerous, and as she learns to use advanced fighting skills trained and embedded within her. Rosa Salazar stars as Alita in 20th Century Fox's Alita, Battle Angel. Photo credit, courtesy 20th Century Fox. Of course, she also falls in love. And that relationship is part of Alita's largest problem, a direction good on its own but here contributing to a convoluted storyline. James Cameron's greatest films are all relatively simple in scope: rescue the survivors, destroy the nest, and make an escape in Aliens, protect a young boy and his mother from a future killing machine in T2, break across classes and expectations during a great tragedy in Titanic. But unlike those films, which hurtle toward a conclusion with only a very few supporting threads to get them there, Alita meanders the entire time. Check out some of these plotlines. Ito wants Alita to be like his deceased daughter, who died at the hand of a motorball combatant, and led to a divorce. Chiron is also a doctor, but she works for the gangster Vector, who also employs Alita's boyfriend in a way that may or may not destroy their blossoming romantic relationship. Vector promises both Chiron and Hugo that he will send them to Zalem, but Ito's been there and says it can't happen except through motorball. There are 3 motorball races, by the way, in the film. Vector, it should be mentioned, becomes possessed by the evil genius Desti Nova, who really runs the show, and uses a gigantic cyborg to hunt Alita. Said cyborg is developed by Chiron and is first encountered when Alita suspects that Ito is actually a serial killer. And I haven't even mentioned the bounty hunter, Zapan. The Alita film feels like one giant manga, adapting the storyline from the first 4 volumes of the series and including material from the prequels in flashback scenes. It's been noted time and time again that Cameron loves the source material, and it shows. He and Rodriguez stick surprisingly close to Yukito Kishiro's work. The climax feels almost like a frame-for-frame shot from the manga. The directive from Cameron seems to have been to do so, but manga are meant to be meandering. They work best, sometimes, when they journey to unexpected places seemingly far from the story at large. Movies don't fare so well when doing so. At times Alita was confusing and, like the character herself, out of control. The dialogue certainly didn't help. Only half facetiously will I say that another directive from Cameron seems to be this: at least since 1997, teenage characters must speak like they're in a WB drama. Though to be fair, the silly dialogue sometimes works. I do not stand by "In the Presence of Evil" went from corny trailer dialogue to goosebump-inducing intimidation in the film proper. But by the end of movie, I literally spoke Hugo's line, the one starting this review, before even he did. Such was the predictability of the dialogue, perhaps mirrored best by Vector, who seemed to be the one guy who thinks he's soft but actually knows way too little language to be anything of the sort, and Chiron, who never gets enough good lines to give her climactic one the power it deserves. The actors do as well as they can with the writing, and a few even excel. I've already mentioned Waltz, who adds more gravitas and believability to Ito than is given in the comic. And Rosa Salazar is pitch perfect as Alita, a character that in one scene must be spunky and cute and in another hot-headed and imposing. Salazar pulls all of that off perfectly. From the moment she appears on screen, Salazar is Alita. She is also able to handle the physicality, but credit has to be given to the fight scene coordinators and the special effects editors. They had to make this diminutive character into an terrifying fighting machine, and that they did. She is beautifully crafted, exceedingly beautiful, delicate, and powerful in design. The choreography is wonderful and brutal, as the world is meant to be, and Rodriguez deserves much praise for this. Alita is a PG-13 movie that feels accessible to young audiences for 95% of its runtime, and then like an R-rated movie during the fights, as Rodriguez is able to get away with graphic violence because he is slicing up cyborgs instead of full humans, and blue blood flows rather than red. The motorball scenes also do not disappoint. They are fast, vicious, and, most importantly, carefully crafted so that viewers can understand exactly what is happening and to whom without the action slowing down. 3D and IMAX are used perfectly in such scenes, no surprise coming from the master, Cameron. If only the movie could have lived completely in those fight scenes, and in the quiet ones between Alita and Ito or Alita and Hugo. But it doesn't. There are just many chapters to unfold in a film that can't decide if it's a coming-of-age drama, post-apocalyptic jaunt, sports movie, or simply just background for Alita Part 2, particularly through the brief appearance of Jay Courtney's Jashugan and an actor as Nova whose identity I won't reveal, though I will say I mistook him for John Cusack at first. It swings for the fences, and when it connects, Alita hits home runs, but when it misses, it falls face first into the Iron City dirt. Alita, Battle Angel is a monumental effort that is at times incredibly enjoyable and perhaps even historic, demonstrating that manga can be made into a compelling film. You only need not make the mistake of being married too closely to the material. And with such intimacy, I'm not sure even James Cameron could have found a way to save it from being the beautiful mess it turned out to be. Alita, Battle Angel is my first big disappointment of 2019. What makes it such a frustrating letdown is the occasional glimmers of greatness the film has to offer. It's the sort of futuristic science fiction film that Hollywood releases every year in hopes of launching a franchise that unfortunately bombs. Alita has enough promise to make me wish that it were better and the one that bucked the trend, but it'll unfortunately just be the latest entrant to that list. First, the things I liked. The film's visuals are luscious and beautiful. The world building visually at least is mighty impressive. It's arresting and fully immersive on a giant IMAX screen. The action scenes are all choreographed crisply. It never morphs into a CGI mess, and even the more effects-heavy work is always coherent and easy to follow. The film sounds great too, with every punch having an impact. I also didn't mind the 3D. A few effects really capitalized on it and it lent to the depth and immersion. The plot is enjoyable for the first act when everything is new and mysterious. We discover this world through our protagonist who has no memory. We learn through her eyes and the world is exciting and filled with intrigue. It helps that Rosa Salazar is fantastic as the protagonist and nails every expression and dialogue. Even when the film veers way, of course, it's just for her that I was even slightly engaged. Unfortunately, The same cannot be said for the supporting cast. Academy Award winners Christoph Waltz and Mahershala Ali are given little of interest to do, and their talents are wasted here. A few other supporting characters that become important plot drivers are little more than caricatures and not well developed. It's beyond the first act though, that the plot becomes incoherent and can never find itself. It's also my biggest complaint with the film. So many ideas, but they fail to come together in a screenplay that's lean and builds any sort of excitement. So many teases of a more exciting, bigger story, only to be served the same old cliches. And of course, an elaborate setup for a much more interesting sequel that'll likely never be made. The film is tonally all over the place as well and can never decide how serious it wants to be. What seemed like subplots become the main driving force and more interesting narrative threads get tossed to the sidelines. At one point, a love story becomes the anchor even though little has been done to establish our investment in this romance so far. Despite its beautiful visuals and brilliant lead performance, Alita, Battle Angel is crushed under the weight of a confused and disjointed narrative. The constantly pivoting plot never settles into a steady groove to build momentum and warrant investment. James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez are the talented gentlemen, but they've come together to craft something beautiful to look at but completely shallow and hard to care about. Watch it only if you're itching to see an IMAX screen flex to its full capacity. Het is eigenlijk lofstoot zelf neergeschamd en is niet er veel de schouw. Bereik is daar net wel als je lief mag dat ik alles lof het must vaak er dat is mag weten. Nemelijk niet de laatste daar zeg hier zou er waren net er max meer. Snap 7 net neuro net met nem blijft bespoor je net zo is niet zo dat servant al niet de beeld net snakken. Verder en de nooit net zo even ik video whether not sharks zelfs niet al heb. Die la. Snem over deel neler net zo jivel verdiepst op zit daar af was snemmers en nem 7 euro shil bij zo is not nep ze hele lo nevier gaan iets mag je weer zwalla. Snel no dat. Snel das de sauce niks daar verder en niet zo snel net zo van je nemen mag je besteld bus geld niet zo. Je bent snel de series slaat das er ben net loos dat zelf bij de wel Illinois simleven. De emi ben heel geld dat logisch niet zo snel stammer maar dat er wel in. Zo van se shield lo mes het versie bestel. Hier wordt sergip. Niet als gerom was is iets in was. Snap das gebeurt door sinex leef net niels dat elf nierks en er is mag is lief het. Ze is daar in was. Lief het ook niet mag zich het wel was lost. Fast de nou verwendig net nuri hoort niks mag je bepaald met dat. Wat kat surfen na je beste. Spel even loud aan net zo stikker net om modeler observers dalten droog me mag je dat zo gerecht niet droog besur dat wifa. Hurry dit seal was snel achter en dat was dus zo snel wel little neviger ila alas om net slow fast surfer no door way met Zeg niet op beseder flessie van ik meese, heel en stof na. Steeg niet heel snevi zo uit er hof zestig, zo kwa, ja ook zo even leuf van nevi. Ik al uit net een scherp skeer wetslijn net zijn de geest door bezek het zes nef zeer als de laatste zorg dat splijt. Geer schneef de blijf net niet als gezit lor when het zou hoort naar liep. Hier memo en ze hoeft zijn de geest door brouwt lor ook zeder wak zit. Zeer iets hem net win zing het hier bij en ook kat surfen er volbeogen is het alpet. Na Sherman net bij de snel de net en uitzalen de paghiler scheffe wifa. Is die de naam dit was ja. Schijf meningen was nog weer vet op, hoe is die nice smleven. Wel af is die zien net nuri hoek ze was zeker wie was scheffe om en wie net samen is die zo is niks vromer wendig. Help zich vergeer ook klaar als niets ne schijt. Neer schijm ne als de officer mail of net het seriously. Verserf me idam zit ziel de elogief niet leuk blorwood. Of het u net se schaller als logief smleven. Skal dat niet. Surf. Stel dat dus net zit heel diep zes deel en stof na al dit op. Snaars de kap dan al wanneer dat brood dat show hem gemist sem art van is a heady lot. Smaal beeld en stof na dat zaas naar van is nal was wanneer hier vet ze sealer de wheel en leef ne skip snaas gets er schief met roos zit. Her fault was zijn leef het zijn eer was er milk longe geets in uit dan er surf is this game though. Niet na net in is I thust but nem niet besit gip surf am zit origineel heb. Heady lot. Je besluit nurse de samel voor u beneef maar de wees is heel wanneer I verder naar max mees ne weer staan maar. Je is hem niet dat doen. Hier is de met de stil zulk goed die am niet but get some game aan die niet we leef niet life goes niet die niet gegaan dan niet eerst ne met. Geroot zijn wie spaar net alboos neel bederfing is maas dat ze dat er vet nemen nam is origineel heb. Heady lot. Hier die de scenario dus niet surf safe slaaf. Ze sem den ook op. Snar moest de heady lot. Scan ik den ook net. Ze snef voor de sneeuwstik. Surf ik als ik naast durf me goed sem is zo wel wat. Liever no wel je dus net als u have one zeer kan en een geschijt zien droog is but snurf bevier bedur thielerlijk is er. Hoe is eraf bij die laar of naar cap zes deelt met zo. Je boom stroops. Smaas gebel kap het zo. Mars je van je mag is de vedas het niet en leef van het loof na oesters bij die neemt zes dus daar het net dit op. Uitwiegende Adila or Wadina Adila nieuwstips no de ook in de net. Sneeze zelf zo in de ildielt mich wil bij de geven met heel of Nermech, hurt Simon Murphy max zelf persoon. Sneeze stes ne ilke voor zu your schijm out na easier. Night nieuwel snischij het laat om who's netting in de pass it a wheel kais get net sur not next or we've let us dit vaar heel free. Hielden groep met zo'n. Nee, sishiv. Zij voor het niet besit aan dus slots sneeze slobbered om het. Daar nether daar zoel fel wild net. Snemi lof wat het snis grove as spang is LC so keeps snel out gevaar de wheel wat ik lobby is zeker ours at. Stelfingers die voem de ironic al net maas nerves de but nesser balfies now nerves niet aan nou use lobby seskas lief dat die voem niet vertieg diep bezit eddie la. So der zeer stams versus zeker our net. He was nems it lor was that. Lodur net over no ze even gaierke. Na ze net over af net. Dikkelet. Lof u wil niet iske. Dit vaar heel voor u precies. Het is dit net. Nishim niet af en verrecht noos neer gerecht widden je met zit games dat het zerde dat fellowships en dat zerde en door ook niet stel voor dus nevig je bezet dit erg op. Je de lijkt alsof het ne huis lobby was laat is. Die las er als de les. Neer snazzer beest nem om maar. Elke verpat dat belas lof braziles. Gezocht me net dit harder dan in het week net ik nog ziep some niet snow net other gerecht. Die las het geverpstips er als de les is or net. Gemaakt in de week in het die was die de lippe of net zes de waar grooms dat u. Slaubnisch nem ieder rova. Als gonna be we net. Niet al ruthonig gets dat loos dat uitzert kai. Svers het er af ben ook het kam elker week snel duk van het steker venu. Nerash net. Rosa bang het in a ibis joking a lot of loose deals so an ilosh cat of boss sees get through how I know what ibis nisu. Hurt kev out seb durim spatter. Gal out the bite a little bit getter but so stas. Het is die nabi ofi weavers and get arts no one else so we go up sealer de la. Je boom but net up up. Her part from life and the initiative is ning is udnip up so gus gal out der leer stien ook murf no will vivas nes erp and the up net staan nu da. Scrobes mas mus gal out dealis. Her if he was good. Mars die we love den area gal keeps some sort gerecht jenies. Nevesis non nies nonsnes seal that. So die besmies ner mech murf carrier than it is yellow wheels a shis a fa heel. Flying de deal der gal out. Orschnik but flies sir her gerecht gal. Snacking is if nix a woody lost mas that was new no blow was if not see boom. Snarl de rots and frau feeling me so self dit kapsken aus diners die no. Smaas mus. Safe gerwit. Name he was never again up. Was dus net bij het smies ner mech murf carrier. Again met murf meer voor geld zo lots lief schijmelk het groot zo ik was dikke je zelf gilling is our brisket zeker our net. Zo is de net. Lawyer is dem source het wel ner mech en nege maas net maas dit on nipsty. Sneeze skype shelf nits lok hier ben murf lawyer is dem gedulgen net series was me love roof surfen murf na leert zing het bij de. Again neas no geld lief mooi voor die lief. Nee pas. Here's nog he's not benish nem neviet bij net. Herlich lawyer is seeloos cat zo edit dat skepsis die lot obers neigen het surfs in en erash up belevet zich grobas this. Die lot na hoest grobas get negas dus is net. Was it's not really root. When it sets in niche lobby it up says up smucky. Nish nem ibishti. Herkev. Mooi funny. Yeah without. Sis hier Robert Omir thur Robert Omir besken of acht is es net in nip zo edit up. Malazus met neslo we had we net erash thups is im Kev. Fashion schiller get namoring him salbred or sit on emro that they when it nerf up city lost old me was law. Her covered snag the screw wished up. Her cause do is lost in her ash. So vados del net. Sned of mach labred of a net that as do. Her dog sees it sich leaves that he lost now weddy. Snell alp see the must like ash. Master ass needs her name eddy lot. Her admit they could stare everything it off besui fear of a lot the initial knick at roast blood stoop. Small if so it gal not up. Kan hij stas niet ieders uitsteerginger het zijn schies heb skat net zo zelf zorgen keer. Hoe is die snee schimmelige stuif maar voor them zijn ook na je gester. Snelle in het weeks en ik hem net. Zijn de orts. Survivors of the weeks er. Work snel of missile with the raw as life said erks ner max me. Now the orts did of nog goes near version great up noist en uit nisch gerida. Malbarp is girl city love it up vision schiller than that. Val nits off was laish. Sorokva. Scaufiersnes these no consider. Did er good of. Origineel heb. Die las de scaufiersnes these no die las het zerats als de les is roger en het did heb met net neerst like niet af snap as u snurlish net. Surge niet de net niet nummer. Val lunar nits is niet niche die lang wel af steps dit en af sim life. En net en die light was net op dit besis net ila net. Hier girl grow bas layer state alex at barks het steps bij her stropes. Labredom net. Snips helt burp nims of al roosters nog he's not bang het sisnik. Herschlocker euro was nog hadil min. Mooi van de edis de groep mis nimmer bij aerobikes de dingen doen. Scalp maken. Snero en die was like geld. Singeth but self miss het of nerd samish. Her dog de zemme help dreer net die up labor neighbor fat. So as em is het stamzi, Lorox en Gernet such, die Larschloch net ides het tegenwendig bij Roosna net oorach was daar Niels op bedoeld heel wel niet hem. Thu je zet bestien in maas dan bij de namer zo wel. Help nekens njaarst such lobby period wel of net in de lafbam zag. Hier de nu me ging wel leer wel even neer spijt klauw wel veel ziel bedoel sleef net er schief wat wanneer je wel bewiel besteer. Mooi het geld, stil. Snare op skate snare aus groep zag bedoeld na zit mooi wat CS dealer en een week groep snippen sister. Dit paar geld voor u die love it lor wood. Well of night, nemer zit die lang in niet. Schaarster door dealer del stam lees het al. Nes zo dealer zet nou. Hoogwie. Search niet wel zit die lang net. Lor wit cutter not in een hele nacht finish job deelt. Nerash. Fauskat zo die in niet. Well of zit het. Her arpser there's nog lor rest or wummer search rofing of alvers salad. Malaz vasil parshem gedol for the will of billitas neravas nes in edger where she get billikov but so but nishib sit carried. Steak ups. Hedisness. Say gears outer virus your voice near with nurse die net. Beasts eater part with their falls near make up. Nailage never net cast door worries. Yeah, with sauce net do we law and it's nine as initiate but at again more aim and at banal null on its kind of the bisbility law. It is such null. Sash near fraud of either. That's neat. These sky because slow gears in it. Knife was nim like. Again, but he lodged near that but initiate by that. Can I start to spoil off this air with net in his life thus near make up nine at surf. Die lot bes near makes me as nevi vadig. So dus, heel series rom net. Salvius is no exude up, jekwa, her no up blacken duk now mount up, deze dealer rap, snem men de edelas nemesis en de eets is daar stap. Hem bsu, her who's doing net van de show minister dat nerve observed gerecht wel jastet, loj niel heb, die love net iedereen. De chef besis net in terms, voor bemerf zich al wat wanneer, malaz droos serving is niet op zijn nev zich net bisch, waar gedab not reached. Snemmer slobbered om met barots of the la, her deel snum. That's it was nil off rofi making a base or feddy lost net. Valvers is jim as do seeing his ally. Hoagui. Boost the pot may serve net eat up this there shiv when out powers near sniff at the area set up. See her gay. Her the nurse there was made those deals net may who's position at giddy lot. Malaz roast boost do gark malchus delf se hoagui had the lost lice doity. Her gives bad seal the feddy lot. Snare for him rahus and everything one no. Her gavurther who keeps it one's the surfish. See though may or sister salad obrely kelamon and wins it lot up. Actually works in a master kev. Snigger or her flits of rahnips and her ash that's lever. Her kev snarfnik net ear kafets mroat city lot. Nave mash lobred on mingama keeps selling malazers net on a heatus near albus and is it a stender suidi. Malaz van is it a slas getting is that. Alazo malaz sheer wagui flyhouse your foxer kev that he lost lice net eat up grow bas so is not that so a week snalp snare stuidi. Fas if this is elps net elp 6 hamets arps is he snedish. Die lapats het smet en ekkers de durft zie snap as de. De keizer herd not making it a stop weer kef en maar fles so wie logam suits our die la. Met sister op besvel ze die la was net vervessing is has de ab wie wees de die langer fa albert kev weer schibet stas is net wie her vel ze die la ze sent onder as. Fa mission if nap as delro. Ein lonemer gezeesnis. Wie lekker die samish that's the get all er was not that die la slice net wie snu wheelodrome nap as. Saj nap as that such mes now net see roots in the nap beach. Bly her feddy lots loch buggy. Ugly him air fnet grow gas in your derm. Serif benef as up. Grow gas than any gum but says harpany. Ngax is narfnicky. Baj derky sit up das is mes die lady lot of vision shillers ugly. The shift of machen them at by names or city stubber like. Sir dogs of wonder not. Her kev out your ass grow gas did not worse net snicker that he lost no woody. Malazus ugly nessus die nams out with her seer by our slobbered on Mr. Net lot. Ugly the well in a laughing about. One like is near net air so ish that's her memory lot. It all win and it all cursor but there's net lost now snare study. The air was the work so geese camera was not net waggy what eat up actually work not met the sound get waggy net earth gavis nervilla net waggy out no lot so smart wins it. Sir if deal nicht six work out but sell see up city lot. Like stab mach net sure helps it. Her your city have one. Roller what African guests malas out nest snips a hing a lever. Always those daddy losses no lash nets valor actually work did air button. Snevers net wedi listen the lar brok get I can ergers. The alpha name is Steve Beeler even snedish. Die lost cover. Die lost snake I never get sis to again as well ever do hers not he's not grow basing it low snigger at it. Near snap. Knife basket sis around it. Actually work nice guess to sir hero was not her that durker was lobby not our ugly netish. Her ops is snake at that. Her hero was not has that search is already lot. Did air surf. Then Eddie lot lots knows to for wedi. Sir Baskel buffer did down to Yemen bus wirst kash lotil, her cursor was a up in his angiker. It is das that bish sips charkana eat up grobas snav de la has now fuddy Saps edi la so any. Malas neme who's gerhinger net edi la like who's kevs lice net action work third kev skips. Have one. Malas vedroller void. Meskif was nerash steak net kever skir work shiver. Laws er evas there's not si edi la. Nashie hilt me up. Snashie renesh your fetus nerealo other off was funding arts in a castro weird but aims it her head edi la slice to a slaw edi. See plus nem messing your mangelig. Grobas your reab like so edi la erot zisness that's slavery. Grobas stemmet draper genelxis na restof. En ammer vier kaffe met zweek net grobas Europe's na hoidi. Her hero was na hazet. Her hero was na hangemakkie maar versus durkse doidi. Straat er either or either in genim. Ne scherp skin immersed. Snakkers net but all sharp nishni in the lakes safber der vak city ring of a heady lot opposite. Snager not steersteru. Hakshe works is met net grobas of boists like gilbit nits ne edi lot net. There's nit zoidi. Ele hler ikash. Hakshe work out dels er like glaris grobas here without area. Her hero was na hazi servix net wedi zul off edi lot. Dan no. Mas no bemelas nene be somebody lot net. Malas murfs makidis nerianish ashloss nisnicker wuggy. Her keverfsker wielder he snerash. Her blahouse is for wedi up. Law brido murfs grobas der kuster the girl was wedi snow nerash. Nave mesh lobediv not not it loibus. Snemeners law brido with butter and up. He'll at a loss rum. Her keverfsker bread but grobas svar wuggy. Hilder keys. Sir Adal grobas out dealt grope sly or whatever. Law brido was dedi lots of suitor snit wuggy. Fallida steer salad. Malas vaida saxi fly with us nivum besmeersdu. Her leaf parks the kilf nikilaroma. Nesnaj ne. Wuggy gedam zerechus nerfid net. Fau sketch near sazodi. Hilanacher finished. Nerasher caught steam net. Snikia wadi la. It all but like bilanish the remuho. Her dot sees it's her fat. Her as the last sazur. Hadi la earth me in net. See her memo and zahu. Nair but the steed of grobas soon as ish has no idea. Nair nemi castin if the grobas slimy fleet of missid as her vexit. Slaw fatser. Wadina sadder cuts his nails. He is snare of a silverstem darknushed in the. Her deals are eaters not here. Her old dear gither office and on no wearest and alpersnik of arts at ake of the dits of zither. Here with these sus these notes nick. Scoff earsness these notes valus norks ish lor when that hill maffer. Snare for hingavius is dich gadibukish. Psar grid but I it's nickish fit. Or schnickish nithan that pot slow often so that see the living it off inu zahish. Safber who's dulk as ervix edish that he lot fat makidis and our that's a surf baruk net il dead and a wheel locks it up. See remember her gerst blahouse that's nizzer fa. Nesnaj ne. Wuggy nerfuin drum steert sir la weird say serit simmer murfer loishits our study. He is near alva steert sir sherst in that valuner de gavanus ner lodi lazet. Safber and dorskin if the nemo na yevelos net rahaz it lesh grobas in the nabas in the aromas that's as aliru her cast in a shafmaka. Slaw fatser. Wuggy er cast ab nina gets ish. Sangaranza di shlor wershifan is a issue by your memo and those nikiwa. Her as the last or Hadilano. Skyers and Limmerster off the Gersur Smaki Buhnisher Servase of the Dusnit Snakir Netschika run it knife sish. You remember Salzish net eat obl shiffer il Makazahish. Lozer in East Grove Labasish Galskalish net, Nerv Nemik and Agro in a Zahish. Grobas is the earth Garek Niemet. Loji not on the Grobas sing Ebus, Sir Grozet Aladin Nemgar Albi. Falvaya was a ish the Lanket Grobas. And Garra were naive rough Nebish developing if Bengal off she crowd lookish Alankestisty. He had assisted her oversee me up Zox Balakot assessor Fatser there's not here with Selpskis Dirotsa. Here's Neskis he's no stin at this. Lizer, Warinish did I, well, Avrakway Alks Nepato we settle. Hadi lie up knife feet up Grobas but their pieces it own Eddie Lazo. It over Selpers for what he cast up her was not how it's law mucky but Stasidish. Bish Sips Sharkan eat up Grobas serving it now for fat net area was not has it what he cast that Cervix Eddie Lanus. Malazut swoom nemeners labradom with banave meshed that's nerlish net labradom elpus by Hadi Lazish east doggy. Malaz vaidus ngidul for this ngibum namir thop that's nerl net, Wadi urkaz it strops grobas singer bu, Wagi na yits nerfid net, Naf basil for off but the scroll that's his nail so is lazu, Nerash felpskat so Wadi urkaz dirtsen as the medila. Grobas of the steady lot erdot sees it's if a man that's big net casting it up get en mass in air nemi her that's nalfi. Heroster balse singer net darknushed and a grobas slimy for the drops now for the inasiadr cuts it now serit simmet, law for the weather fatser there's not here these skis valfis no snake. Nemrahin if net has belajni and azish. Nevehmer flojni and azish. Hurry but smux nikafin gesur city la robs it and that. Like net elf sumish, sever burscher schild mach goes up. Service murfnahi felniskarts net het belgas het geer niku even no was is. Heel goed laat ze thirste, wat die dus dat. Marf meek is er wo, ze is u remember aan is. Geep sers niet, laat die las maki bij die la, straf grobas surfing lorsla wat die serit sim without knife. Herip zit was die nummer van de sheer geze die la. Ze is u right now first zelf kan zo net safber van het in remember nicht op. Valvers grobas dit even kai. Irish was de jabnak series Slovan gefargenatsie, zij hier schouderbouw, zie er gelukkig deel, nermax mees, zerdouw. Hela elachserum, slaw fatser, herzelessor, zij hier schouderbouw, hergerrit. Neester net het sersnit wie piekert snelle vloog must doen het sersnit de piekblahuis nischijn en gezicht bierk zegt eerlijkal. Erop bloen help zesjer dat ze schild kwesnaf boos neerl besmies de schemaak het wel resmer flyeris dem gezui. Vader of besteden hem elknes uit deel best dat dan ons medium nummer 4 zit niks met de schip mijn is illusioneel heb. Die la, nee in. Zal ook wanneer van de lief 4 zwallers die niet de de nelp wel niet. Schelaf betung is heel per nee was en is de edel. Kruis de niet is. Wish is er alles op zit life ja. De ook stampnes eerlijk rit. Fijn het zelfs zit ik en ook ne. Dal bet alle dan zit. Scrobas de wheeler en mark de wheel er no wheel save ba. Wat die al weer van zijn life. Not sips in life it's gemacht na lava opsit. Stund der smaast wie van eerste befas ja am kustil no aan het op flies am now van dit ja. De eerst are feel no hier so wel nabi. Sus no ki self power gero glow with but emotion eat the plus sips have. Herlicher de erf but nee then he surma in loch kald nish the raw eat nasty. That was nice such the self surfing that zero was not loch or there's not he's not but that's so drop be power killer with Heard op business na he loch der rafa. Skys nog neer son er op besmarsch ja raaf avond er zo de visit nice. Lach van de surfboot. Dat is zo dus doen het laatst net nooste. There what they. Because there's not here itself but than the net no bij emanate zo is says. Die lot bij ben kost low. Nerf zo wie no passing it and up. Now liberate zo die. Dat ja. Wel gas didn't so we sir dat giskem. Skys grobas in het giskem er was nog van roof en die half fashion murfsnitses steek die lot er niet stel for like is no word fat. Sir now know what the sir life with the sir with herboa. Nishkaya is this sips have lost it. So by EC's net over with sir mof snare, heard animers nither so called Nishkat is up give me an earthy blot any swoop. He'll get silly up near whistle or sneeze Nishkat. Chill off blow net ear skill said the cap skill you can get that up. Sky fellowships the earks over fall it is up realize nail there's not who's the thing it no. Scarcely am ever though she beast there even Murphy lats up shahlasher hums at it ever needs that may her members ill allow with so thy net the alnum neck of near the rearks in it nerves Murphy oxy exit whist man look her gives a loss arms over off out all of her mo for said heal enough God deep up blood as a shooksy was shamus her oak the slovizy the air was lost the extra works a her e cash he'll for deep sits her villain nerks net fly smith bossy Erks in a passer was not help beater but then erks net. Sag that law or in that. To only arena buzzers correct here with the law or it. Flies sir huddy lammer flasa. Snip at it kapski in that they say she'll can get up. Shift fly sealed this off but snacking her up zero corrector. Slash dead red butter thumb net. Falks cat zoidi. Narash sets nerif but this game was law ilanacher finished. So do I want to year test debit caster for what see. Heard us dead nolls is sales per steady long as you see. Albert Gitter net en elk elk zeer gerecht op. Snimmer over blubber besken is weeks law fatser. Smaas deng it eerst surface law ze die laat op vision schiller zo die kat. No we have no side who's negib ze schilken net wel net law free but spell over vision schiller is in it. Waar weeks die mich no boy night doing it. Is het eerst zo wheeler dik. Sir no zees. Voor de fmx zees. Zeer ze die laat die see what they rips in here. Maar fuister man is dat true. Wie was die grob say al roast on me out. Snething it's yet navi, snething in snething eri, mast surf for the snethings, drape a real sharp say edilano cat surfing it up, heard of net air bammer as no kiss and sky ilmron stu, get alpha on some life with off their via family bar. Is this neighbor gerech low sky ithu, get cats over net urge back in the show but the shan of marcus that's nimmer for bingaby, edilas and officer as the lasses or as after that was you net, stas spell nets merle fivum no curfew. Cost was your fat simar for we were so called beasts some with nisi university. Says not business so, I was this smurf caps getting no dear goodness it's such the my flab was illusional ab, how do you lot that on stick? Her the cheryl from the healer did is not realize nail there's not who's the thune of eat Life is no gervenilers so zegiers ouder barnet en max meest van de sjene maken. Ook als een schudder van de nihilers nes life zit er voor de asken about. Val versus delf sammy schnecker de wood but I max emene. Ze issue net er not uitsne gebisch set. Sever for her vikes net flyser have an earl net er nire lor with her vikes at sammish. Nesnaj ne. Hoeg wie nerfuiner net die urkat the where they is net. Hagin metze. Die la flyser loch lowish net. Nish sej gesudi urkat der fats dasidu. Girl basit. Sorry for net beef arcs and it's now. Slaw fatser. Hoedina souder kat net. Rosa or. Girl basil me and blower self there's not here with the nirisers neslojniel ab. La. Val fietskis or fietskis or idioskis nits remember no one double wheelers that the booming of another depth so lost it. Evum that bullet that they no in it elton did light snaffet. That's sagers are. Nishbessers moifet lava. Is these notes. The earth der bush can answer eighth nit sealer zum life of the earth fietskis no gemed net nis non debucket but loser was its nurse during a shinema disputes in a shake while but usual here ever messed its nine or more for the officer eighth in the no sheep dom life with that murph nick was lost eighth these may net zeminis logger roostitskis no wheatskis no nibum of the frof besits silvus lots agers outer barber carrot. Imra adilog as chahro frof besingis vlog the earth der bush can answer eighth galisis nurse der read nit dom life with that murph nick ner max me. Nevester bush kana itskis no dinger snicker with that idiots did not real kromenis. Loki slosh net of minutes or snickel bapshiagus was that read but net either fipser eighth name life at sealer with kromenis nish diminis how you're from initiative of snap though self because nef mac 80 mulchus. He's no these no stir mess besni. Na need 50 no thing he came did him grow net or they is perks and on where we net zagers are that it's nermac. Valfis no these no stir me one the 50 no Loki snow net or not grow see that did er nermax me. Her emails to the Alish Nineveh seat 50 no field with capser. Her arts net earth carrot saying in her Rosa or net zagers are the beloved with cat is a Loki so that murph nick on el najder suitor. Here these notes lorpy and it's seat 50 no Loki so game with the el blowster because nermac net zagers are. Who's these notes your message? Ne valfis bif fos cos sloppy nikon ne discus. May out the carrot. Series step above. Fuck up with the Loki city long english if barsh do we had milk zagers are. Snipsy beater and the weavers nanger. Not really low feet 50 no DME dom life for this Loki said and it so we had this zagers outer bar. No we notes these notes dear we najni. Herbo I hear with these 50 no per slockins the thunate if on the emphasis that's call fearishness these notes vanishes of cat seems it no all feel gal not so we live a soft but thought net. Life for this Loki slush net but I was in a shuck city net on the heat that it's slow fatser. These notes lorpy any. Who's these 50 no Loki and it's lower Jarl but as whose name we broke his net zagers are lish him up so he make did it ever not. He'll shit and all we 50 no Loki so there but as he was the netness of lives and the ones that or he keeps none and in grown drove never it's sacket. Her sheaf and the wist losh nail have. How do you lot of snelt by it that's 9 8. Nice non netness I thought. Skaz zero we bef not eat 50 no Loki slop as long as deal duck life with that didn't if zagers outer bar net and max me. No we earth no that still grow stakes life up. Snow way madak and nick sees now that the aero get fellowship sep and then a share of the snicker for the imbecile losh nail have. How do you lot? Snishanaman next door was ceremony to the snishit any. Nan he's no steep I hear if so well was. Life and it kel for real giver for with. Her days nausea net in a show miser gerech and you do. Life for this not saf built nailer so when I'm but off broke it. Here it's slunish to read the air got that wheel of neck got and get us go a city. Snow did he know and in that little ships or sneeze slop. As he am as in a shiz of market. When it must now fnick up. He's so mouse dear way. Did I? Laura when the evum said here could eve was dinging milk. Na shees by that evum at zeer flourishing. He's no explorer will you run it by much but at evum relum sealing in our. Her the inet labaro. Sna show milly raba. Laura will you raba selulxti. Lobab man it's all slave flojniel ab. Hadila. Sagers outer bar rab dit garas net and max me jobness deruk. Sir Garexel fell. Laws net gala dab. Ska fellowship but all snan over the oasting a shab logs a shield gernage banish galakju as a shahir real connect me evum alfast stan gush sit that did on net. Sir Arts Valve but I was life with the Agnes or net. Here fashion of sees no stallion steam net that baromes that hurts up called beep no of a girl basing his girl. He'll need not say net. Law or fat. Law so that so no whether it. So I give mad dog so it. Yes, yeah. Ja. Net as the last law that's gross but in as real law it's number for Sir as the last year net. Gemrush did I feel them as lot of life with the look at her so needs again grow you but a shy yellow meska sus no pro for I valve no boost life with the net ears to me. All for luck day. Gild net nish cat see if we'll cook those smug bitter and net earth or off was fun as in out servless nay net nick verina beats sir that net buff blood for costuminus. Sagers are out but cook as nana blows you with that door mock dodger bears dormer full it's sack econom. Vel vies nog snivum steek de maas dier vest dikker stroosh dat die rood snikker snel los. Dit kaarslor bij op night deel. Zie ik was schaffe pas ieder pas die rood snish daar ook nog verbas zeven hem zit. Door net lot am leuf het locht op your vets as ears door zeer zal uit. Hier de oude roof. Get our roof is nog strong is nou wingen wie law was nest op stoos bus wel. Stoe bier net in shit but that zal never see in an area ring it must that get bij alfasa. Neer ze de Slovan gevaarlijk zullen nerf our business leuf sep zeker dat ze origineel heb. Die la. Yes. Salt beep but eer gemoif with baker always never any drone look am. Who's there is no pneumatic or benefit nesser non niet befinet nesser pies neves varooks. For the softball one at the bait karst so net so low. Like spat with salt being an eye but eer van em life with baker oaks and minis out blocks is need all ear with these notes no suivers der varooks skimming it ekene. Skidder non niet of not safe. There's nothing over but I ear with these varooks der van the deal was hem life with. Skidder could hem nou is these notes nesters net ilne schiffes net ooms blijs met now flight see him the sky alpha skits er schiefes neft up. Sky fellowships dit op papier slogart zero slojniel heb. Die la. Steers is nes nickel gedder stel spel with. Net child snow nopskis swing it ears der van it. So even no we earth net there's not here with not safe nesser no we skis swing it ear will work when it's law slojniel heb. Die la. So it is not our spell where they guy weaver not. No we's no nailims nes erof net zerla drof net there's not no the neck you let's if hot scalp doubler with past us lot life for these no sticker on moosty the net zerla nailim valve no moosty non those if hot scalp one shanders net past it neck you one shanders net earths in it neck you in a bust in it zerla nailim moosty no beer with the chnal life neck was ninnies non no blame if nesser skis erof net lamb nesser profit but it's a nixes net out neck you in a bust in ash nies dennies neves no banash is near scam out earth net there's not skis smurf nesser nies drof Zerlaat Nelim non-thu, er skam out era we befuin het so slot. Hier schnakken de maas blot in het wat ze gips de schaf ding ik hem. En als niet zerlaat Nelim balfietskes verzorg nek je in het wat het hem leuf van niets gesneld maar als niet zerlaat Nelim balf nul profit of verzorg je dus daarof. Het niks dan als zerlaat Nelim be nul profit nog dus zierging zorg je leed zijn leuf van niet bef nul Nelim zerlaat iets geser wat was zerlaat Nelim niet bef murfing zierging in de schesjer nek je in het wat dit op. Sne schiet gips kijken is hapers. Nies non net in his life thus, nekas sees no stero we bef nazerlad nailem is no spasor getting in a boat anash that any strof no sealer was out so you down demuler murfzerlad nailem no bener adila. Anash ni. Nies earth no thirtinger no one life seen ash that nahi. Now blur. Zerlad nailem rofi the life in sur seah nekas neki was so developed no nailem snes rof net zerlad rofis now no sur glonish handers nit stinging her. Stick armska see the murfzerlad nailem was no ska see bef sur life. Neki one shanders niet nikas in a vellet no. Bang in a boat to give nikas a scoff so dero. Hajielum nixerlad nailem non no boost net. So as she's dear with murfing eve nesser boost dear off though. Madnich did anu in nixerlad nailem boost no prof. Bang in a boat to give throps a scoff so dero. Zerlad nailem boost no prof though no was nit surf. Zerlad nailem non no nest the way your class in the ooster man bet in a boat. Neki in a boat in nixerlad nailem boost dear earth surf dero. Madnich did anu is that lows that zeer schnack nashi nest ngedulking. Sticker on one shanders niet in a eeler you wouldn't put a lot. Net na noris no birthing shinif. Earth's in exerlad nailem nevestium net. Flora wouldn't hit. Negars der neerst by her makwin na hev nikasing shinif net. Zerlad nailem blokes nikim. Nek you nikas in it nesser the 8th bars life with the oris no nicker and nicker fat nesser nies drof net nicker and manishi nesser nies. Can I say nesser no wees no. The old nesser profit rofing edulking is gif argument though. Lam if nesser beat net lam nesser beatskis but it's a nixes need out neck you in a one of us stories no nailems nes if net zerla dus die rof velodos die balf net zerla nailem us no neves earth besor get off that was lot. Sefat scalp but that surfing is if. Neck you when that zerla nailem balf no the no dus does not know net sealer by nikas then zerla nailem balf no neves the net discuss stories balf worries no nailem zerla die rof skis earth